Seguin, Red de Acción por el Agua, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Nathalie Seguin from Mexico. I'm speaking on behalf of the Freshwater Action Network in Latin America and End Water Poverty, both working to ensure the realization of human right to water and sanitation at local level. Excellencies, human rights were at the core of creation of the United Nations organization. Who else is going to advocate and be accountable for human rights commitment? We must learn from MDGs. The agenda has to be framed by human rights, and water and sanitation is a fundamental human right. Any developmental agenda is urged to consider the availability of freshwater resources and sanitation, and indicators must fill the gaps existing on goals and targets. But how? The increasing competition to access water is already creating conflicts in the world. Extractive industries are threatening availability and quality of water. Inadequate legislation and the private sector's neglect of human rights is resulting in water and land grabbing. We need priorities of use of water to effectively safeguard water for the environment and people's essential needs on health and food. SDGs, targets, and indicators must not be blind to these predicted and existing conflicts, and must ensure the SDGs are not less ambitious than existing commitments. We call on member states to consider cross-cutting indicators and explicitly safeguard human rights principles and contemplate all standards of the human right to water and sanitation to effectively target the most marginalized and end inequalities. As SDGs are linked to ECOSOC rights, from a regional perspective, we call on member states to consider the indicators methodology of the working group for the analysis of the national reports included in the San Salvador Protocol. This model presents the advances made in the realization and effective fulfillment of each right. Its methodology considers civil society advocacy efforts and proposes that quantitative indicators should be complemented with qualitative progress signals that contribute to put in context the statistical information. Besides, goals, targets, and indicators must have clear definitions aligned with concepts that have already been defined in human rights instruments to avoid undesirable results. To illustrate this lack of clarity, the current government of Mexico is trying to approve a water law that violates the human right to access water and completely omits the human right to sanitation. This omission is supported by the definition that Mexican institutions give to the right to sanitation, where access to a toilet is not even suggested. Another crucial example that needs a clear definition is clean and modern energy from Goal 7. In many countries, extractive industries such as mining or fracking are threatening the lives of people and ecosystems because of the amount of water they use and the pollution they create. The tolerance of these extractive activities could severely put at risk Goal 2, Goal 3, 6, 13, and 15, resulting in the violation of existing human rights. Water is central for life and development and has strong interlinks with other SDGs and targets. Any energy solution must respect human rights and protect water sources and its ecosystems. But the actual model on water management has resulted in the destruction of ecosystems, high pollution, and high inequalities in access to water and sanitation. We call on member states to recognize the urgency to change this model and ensure human rights-based approach for sustainable, resilient, and equitable water management. To achieve SDG citizen collaboration, the design of indicators, implementation of targets, and follow-up of the agenda need to be done with the people. To date, the development of indicators has been led by an exclusive minority of academics and UN agencies, and this is not acceptable. participation must be guaranteed through all aspects of the agenda. Member states should also set a transparent and inclusive process guideline at the national level to guarantee human rights standards and principles in the establishment of indicators that capture the national realities. Indicators process is complex, but no indicator should be excluded due to difficulties arising from the different level of statistical system in each country. The agenda has to be ambitious, and the indicators should follow this ambition. Some indicators do not respond to the need of measuring the different dimensions. Some are centered on the effect instead of the structural causes. Others measure external environmental conditions that won't let us know actions put in place to achieve the target. It requires a complex discussion of stakeholders to foresee collateral effects that one indicator could have in the fulfillment of other targets and goals. Furthermore, some indicators reflecting human rights principles could be cross-cutting for more than one goal, but we also need them to be disaggregated to ensure that disparities and inequities in progress are visible, and that the benefits of the SDGs on the poorest and more marginalized people are monitored. We are concerned with the current indicators proposed by the UN Statistical Commission in February. Indicators for Goal 6 must go further. Under the current proposal, indicators will not direct government actions toward those who need it the most, replicating one of the failures of the MDGs. Some targets have insufficient indicators to truly measure whether people have real access to safe, affordable, and equitable water, sanitation, and hygiene. We have a specific proposal for indicators for targets of Goals 6 and 7 that we will submit to the Secretariat. Thank you.